Welcome to the Inspired By Show, the show that brings you inspiring stories from inspiring authors with a twist. Now, one thing that I've learned from reading books for most of my life and publishing them since 2019, there is a real system and framework to writing a book that actually reads well, but most importantly, sells. And one of the things that I find fascinating is getting to ask authors questions that they don't normally get asked when it comes to their books. Most authors, they get invited on shows, they go on TV, they go on radio, they even go on podcasts, and they get to talk about the great stuff about their book. They talk about the things in it, they talk about everything the publishers told them to say, and more importantly, what the PR companies have mediated and trained them into. But what I found as a speaker and a podcaster is actually the art of asking the right questions to really get the raw and real answers. And that's what the Inspired By Show is about. Over the last year of interviewing some inspiring guests from celebrities, professional footballers, entrepreneurs, media outlets, you name them, we've interviewed some incredible people over the last year, especially with our first season. But what I found was that there was a real art and similarity to some of our best guests, ones that they had the most fun with us, the guests that I had the most fun interviewing, and more importantly, the guests that you all had the most fun in listening and watching. And they were our authors. And so coming out to you over the next couple of weeks is every single week you'll be able to tune in right here and listen and watch some of our newest episodes on the Inspired By Show. And during these, I'm going to make you one promise. I'm going to be asking these authors, these people who have written books, these people that have published books and possibly spoken and been interviewed in front of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, I'm going to be asking them some really clear questions about their writing journey. How was it actually writing a book? What was the biggest disappointment that they found? Maybe something that they didn't expect. What went wrong on the process? What are things that they've been told not to share as part of their book? We're going to be talking about the writing journey, the publishing journey, how they pitched themselves to publishers, how they sold their books, and really if their book made them any money. Because we all know that there are publishers out there that publish books that create best-selling authors, but they stay broke. And that's what this show's about, revealing it all, sharing the true story behind the curtain so that you ultimately know how you can write, publish, and promote your best-selling book. But why do I even like talking about books? What is it about writing and publishing books that actually lights me up? Well, back in 2016, I was working in the corporate world and I was just about to start my own business. I was really loving my career and really pushing myself to grow my business and my career even further. I'd got to the point of being a director in a global company, and I just realized that it wasn't for me. I thought I'd wanted to be this all singing, all dancing career woman who essentially got to the top of the ladder at such a young age. And whilst I did manage to achieve those milestones in my life, I just left feeling empty. I remember sitting at my desk, holding my business card in my hand that said Chloë Bisson, director. And whilst I was really proud and excited to give that to my friends and my family and see my mum put it on her fridge, after that, it actually wore off really fast. And I remember being sat there feeling quite empty, quite low, and just feeling completely lost. And flash forward just a few months, I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression. I was unable to work. I ended up having 6 months out of my job, and I ended up just being completely lost. I felt useless. I felt like I just wasn't worth anything. Everything I'd put my life and soul into, the relationships I'd left for my career, the friendships that had drifted apart because I was working all the time, the social life that I'd vanished because essentially I had no time to do anything else but work. So when that was taken away from me and I was stripped back to being Chloë, I just didn't know who I was. And I went on my own journey of reading, of discovering, of therapy, of learning, and really redefining who I actually was. But first of all, finding out who I was underneath all the career goals. And during that phase, I went through a lot of learning. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but when you go through a bit of a traumatic time in your life, or you lose yourself, or you have an illness, or any of those sort of things, mental illness is included in that, a lot of people like to think they're helping you by giving you books to read, giving you leaflets, giving you pamphlets and saying, this will help you. I was getting doctors and specialists and therapists giving me pamphlets and leaflets all over the place. And I remember just being sat there and I had lost my patience. I was like, if someone gives me another freaking book to read or another pamphlet to look at or another leaflet or event to go to, I'm just going to throw it at them. Not because I'm a violent person, by the way, but it was just the point where I just thought, I don't actually want to read any more about the science, the facts. I actually don't want to read any more victim stuff. I don't want to be sat around people that are suffering like me. I want to find solutions. And that said, a friend who had been through a similar experience said to me, Chloe, I know you've probably been given loads of books to read, but this book changed my life. You need to read this book. And I don't know why this stood out to me, but there was a book called Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. And as I read this book, I remember once being in my living room as I was unwell and I wasn't able to go to work. I spent a lot of my time on my own. And for this one day, I managed to get out of bed and move onto the living room couch. And that to me was a massive milestone, given how severely depressed I was. And for something came over me, some reason I thought, you know, I'm just going to look at this book. And within, I would say 10 minutes of reading this book, I laughed out loud. Now, from a position of being clinically depressed, couldn't even get out of bed most days, to picking up this book and actually laughing, it was like I'd forgotten what that feeling was. And the reason I laughed out loud is because in this book, Matt Haig talks about the reality of mental illness. And not only did it help me understand that what I was going through is normal, it helped me relate to him. It inspired me to find my way out. And it wasn't a book saying you need to do this, this, and this, and this. It wasn't a book selling anything. It wasn't a book that was just written by AI and published online and not actually had any truth to it. There was so much to it that changed my life and truly inspired me. And I turned to my mum a few weeks later and I was starting to feel better. And she said, what's made the difference? And I said, Mum, it's this book. Like, this book has been game changing. And I turned to her and I said to her, one day I'm going to write a book like this, where I'm going to share what it's really like to have clinical depression, what it's really like to live through this and have everyone look at you like you're broken and not really know what to say or do because you don't really understand it yourself. I'm going to write that book. And flash forward 4 years, I'd healed myself, I'd gone through quite a journey, and I decided to start my own business. And I started my own coaching business to help other people through life's challenges. I went on to speak on stages, I was getting interviewed by TV and the media, and I was really starting to build my brand. And my mum said to me a few years later, Chloe, when's that book going to come out? And honestly, I'd forgotten this whole experience because when you're clinically depressed, it's very easy to black things out. But the minute she reminded me of this feeling came over me. It was like an energy that just filled my body. And it was just this complete need to write this book, to just write the book and share the story and share the guide and share the advice that I wish I'd have had before I found Reasons to Stay Alive. And so I wrote my first book, Determined and Dangerous, in 2019. It launched and we got to #1 on Amazon as a best-selling book in 11 categories. And that to me was just like game changing because whilst I loved marketing and I loved putting my brand out there, I had no idea how to write a book. I had no idea how to publish a book. I had no idea what I was doing. I just analysed and learned and really strategized as to what's going to get the best results. Because if I'm going to write this book, I'm going to do it well and I'm going to really make sure it gets out there into the hands of people that really need it. So flash forward those years later, yes, my brand really boomed from having that book. Yes, it really helped me to position myself as a speaker and an entrepreneur and author. But what happened after that was even more magical. People were coming up to me to talk to me about my book. Entrepreneurs, podcasters, speakers, TV personalities, and saying to me, Chloe, how did you write your book? How did you publish it? Will you show me how? And within 3 months after launching my book, we had 3 paying clients asking me to teach them how to do it. And there and then, Inspire by Publishing was born. Since then, we've published so many books, I can't even count now. By the time of recording this, and actually you watching this, who knows how many books we will have shared. We've helped hundreds of authors, and we've helped hundreds of authors and co-authors publish their stories of best-selling books. We've had thousands of people go through our programs, watch our lives, do our video series, buy copies of our books, and it's just been game-changing. I wrote Just Write the Damn Book, teaching that exact story of how to write your book. How do we write and publish a best-selling book? Because so many people were asking me, it made sense to write a book on that. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you now is to understand why we are here in the Inspired By show, because there are so many podcasts out there. There are so many people that want to interview inspiring people. And I'm going to be really honest with you all. Loads of people think they're inspiring. Okay, it's not something new. You know, we've seen the couches, we've seen the podcasts, we've seen the people that want to have a podcast interviewing inspiring stories, but no one's ever done it to do with books. No one's ever done it to really reveal the secrets of how do you become a best-selling author? How do you write a book and actually get paid from it? Because loads of people will say to you, a book is an expensive business card, right? That's not true. If you treat it like a business card, it's going to be a business card and never make you any frickin' money. So instead, it's about writing a book that's going to get published, that's going to get seen, that's going to make you sales, and ultimately get in the hands of people that need it. But most importantly, help you grow your brand and grow your bank account. And that's what the Inspired By show is all about. It's about asking authors, asking people like you who have built their brands, who want to build their brands, who have become entrepreneurs, become authors, become speakers. How did they write their books? How did they leverage them? What were the things like that maybe they were told not to talk about? That's what the goal of the Inspired By show is about. It's about revealing it all so you get the raw and real answers to your questions on your upcoming books. Or if you're listening to this and you go, Chloe, I have no interest to write a book, but I love understanding how people are doing it, then this show is for you. If you're an entrepreneur that wants to build your brand, that wants to get your message out there, that wants to be seen as an authority, and actually you're done with just searching for aimless how-to videos and you want to see how it's really done from the real people that have done it, then this show is for you. If you want to build your business and have a book as a lead magnet so that you can ultimately grow your brand and your business at the same time, then this show is for you. My promise is to make sure that I ask the raw and real questions so that you get the raw and real answers from these writers, from these authors, from these people that have built their brands to show you how you can do it too. Now, with that in mind, let's jump in.